Good morning, everyone. I can't see anyone. I'm blinded by the light. So we are going to have a great panel for you this morning. Normally, I wouldn't say that because I don't like hyperbole and I don't like disappointing people. But we have some amazing panelists. I'm Frank O'Connor from 343 Industries. I'm going to... That is the correct reaction. But we have some much more exciting people for you to meet this morning, our panelists, and I'm going to bring them in one at a time. First, I'm going to bring in someone I've known for more than 10 years, the president of Certain Affinity, Mr. Max Hoberman. And someone who's not new to me, but might be new to some of you guys, it is the Senior Audio Director for Publishing at 343 Industries. His name is Paul Lipson, and he's responsible for some of the amazing audio and music you're going to hear today. And someone who needs almost no introduction, rising this morning from her throne of skulls, Miss Kiki Wolfkill, executive producer at 343 Industries. And last but not least, one of my favorite people since he gave me a computer yesterday, and my hug partner, trust me, if you hang around long enough, he'll hug you, executive producer of Master Chief Collection, Mr. Dan Ayoub. Very touching, and he likes to be very touching. Before we begin the panel this morning, though, we have a rather unusual event, and it might be a first for a Halo panel. Can we bring up the surprise little group of guests? Yeah.
Check.
Some of you guys are probably aware this is the 405th, and there may be other people who are not from the 405th. Anyone? It's all 405th today, right? All right. Right. No polygons were harmed during the creation of that costume. But the 405th is here because they're here at PAX every year, and they're also at Comic-Con every year, and they're a big part of the Halo community, as is everyone in this audience. But we have another community event, which again might be a first today. And I'm not quite sure how this is going to shake out. This was a big surprise for us, too.
This mic is hot. So.
Yeah, this mic is hot. So if you want to take it in your own time, and go right ahead. Oh.
Melissa?
Oh, yeah! Yes.
We share a lot of Halo experience together.
Yes.
And I would love to share it for the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Oh, fuck.
It's a yes! We have a yes! Rule 34 finally came true. Congratulations, and extra surprise, as an officially ordained minister in the church, thanks to the internet in the state of Washington, you're not pronounced your man and wife, no backsies. That's not true, it's fine. That wasn't legal. Congratulations. And we have a premature wedding gift for the future bride and groom. A bag of Halo swag, which is pretty exclusive, and you know, there's boy stuff and girl stuff in there, but now you're engaged. You can swap it around a little. Nobody cares. Congratulations.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you to the 405th.
And everyone else for helping.
And now we're going to get on with the show. Thank you, guys. Congrats. Good job.
Thanks.
Thanks for saying yes. That could have got awkward.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't think I can follow that act. Hey, Frank.
Yeah. You need to give me a computer.
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
I think you guys are married now.
Yeah. So 2014 is a big year for us. It's the 10th anniversary of Halo 2. We're here today. Thank you. We're here today to talk about the Master Chief Collection primarily, but we have a few other surprises today, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Nightfall. But first, I think we're going to move straight to talk to Mr. Danny Youb about the Master Chief Collection. And can you summarize it for us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thanks for coming, everyone. Good morning. Right? You guys are awesome. So at a high level, the Master Chief Collection. So what we wanted to do when we started development of this was make something for you. How do we make something a little more awesome than we did the first time with that anniversary in 2011? And it all came down to going bigger. So we definitely wanted to do the anniversary treatment for Halo 2 because it was such a pivotal game for so many people. And what we knew about that from right away, from the get-go, was we needed to nail the multiplayer. So I think my first call was probably to Max when we got started on this. I was like, hey, Max, I need you and certain Affinity involved in this. I mean, and fortunately, after getting him drunk, he agreed to do it. And the results have just been fantastic, and it's been great working with them. But beyond that, what we wanted to do was, we started thinking about the product. It's like, for the first time, we have an opportunity to have all of the Master Chief games on one platform at the same time. So we said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we could do 1, 2, 3, and 4 all on one disc at the same time? And that led to some really creative breakthroughs. That's where that universal UI came from, the concept of having everything unlocked at the get-go so people can move around however they want. And quite literally every multiplayer map that's ever shipped for any of these games, all on their original engines, all running at the same time. And of course then saying, okay, well, let's make these games run at 60 frames per second and get all of that goodness that comes with it as well. So that's the game portion. And we thought, of course, that it would also be good to do that teeing up to Halo 5 coming out next year, and hence the inclusion of the Halo 5 beta into the project as well. And then Nightfall, which was just like the icing on the cake, right, which Kiki will talk a little bit about in a couple of seconds. So having all of this together in one collection was really a fascinating development experience for us. First of all, because we really transcended just production, right? This went just beyond making a game. This was working with Kiki and her team to, get some nice bits going back and forth between the game and the linear series and all of that goodness. So at the end of the day, it turns into a really comprehensive edition that we're really proud about, and we've been thrilled with the response from the fans. I mean, I know I was nervous going out at E3 to talk about it, and everyone's reaction has been fantastic. So, I mean, at this point, I would just like to thank you guys for your reaction, because as we're crunching and things are getting heavy and hot, it's really the fan love and appreciation we're getting that's keeping us going. So, thank you.
Nightfall. Kiki, you're the executive producer on Nightfall, as well as the executive producer on the Halo channel. Why don't we talk a little bit about that project?
We can talk a little bit about Nightfall. Thank you guys for being here. I applaud you all, as well as ourselves, for being here on the first Saturday morning after the first night of PAX.
Yeah, I know.
I'm personally very proud right now to be alive. We've talked about Nightfall's connection to Halo 5 Guardians and the role that Locke plays in Halo 5 Guardians and that sort of connection point. We haven't actually talked a lot about some of the connection that we have with the Master Chief Collection and Halo Combat Evolved specifically. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the setting for Nightfall. We're going to look at a little VIDOC, but you know, when we started working on this, and Frank is a key player in this as well, you know, Sergio, our director, Sergio Mimica Gazan, felt really strongly that he wanted the setting to be a character in the story. And at the same time, Paul Shearing, our writer, was starting to really think about, if it's a character, what does that character do, and how does that character, which is the setting of the Halo ring, Alpha Halo from Halo 1, how does that setting sort of evolve, and how does it drive sort of the plot dynamics? So we'll talk about a little bit more of that in a few minutes, but let's take a look at a vidoc we put together. I think it was Jeremy Patno on your team who originally had the idea of this fragment of Alpha Halo being a compelling setting. So let's learn a little bit more about it.
There's another character that features very heavily in Nightfall, something we've wanted to do for a really long time, which is explore a Halo in a piece of Halo linear content.
In the first game, Alpha Halo Installation 04 is discovered by humanity and by the Covenant, and there's a fight. Neither side at this time knows that the ring is actually part of an array designed to kill all sentient life in the galaxy.
It's an ancient artifact that a long-vanished civilization abandoned apparently 100,000 years ago. Think about it as a 10,000-kilometer radius band floating in the sky. The outside surface is all engines and metal and mysterious alien technology. The inside surface is terraformed, so it's livable. It's sort of like Earth.
Over the course of the game, you end up as the Master Chief destroying the ring.
There was a small fragment that got out of the original system,
and it ends up in this weird, irregular sort of orbit around this unidentified sun.
So imagine this sort of curved fragment of this 10,000-kilometer band tumbling and spinning dangerously ever closer to this red giant.
A dozen, 16 hours or whatever a day, it's directly facing the sun and experiencing extreme temperatures and then flopping back over.
So in the night cycle, it's just about livable. When it gets into a day cycle, as it spins to face that sun, it can't control the temperatures. The technology isn't that good. So they have to do everything before the sun rises, otherwise they're going to be burnt to a crisp.
And so landing a group of operatives onto a surface of a ring that's doing that and saying, you got to complete your exercise, your operation in 16 hours, good luck, is kind of what we had in mind for Nightfall. The reason we went to Iceland is because they have some ridiculously awesome landscapes.
Everywhere you point a camera in that country, you get a beautiful shot.
I mean, everybody transformed that quarry into a burning hot, deadly fragment of an alien artifact.
It gave us a truly alien place that matched a lot of the look and feel of the Halo, but also had kind of a damaged, raw feel to it, which was very important because we're not exploring an intact, perfect, beautiful Halo. We're exploring a little chunk of it.
I will admit, I grabbed a couple of rocks that I brought home and said I have rocks from a Halo ring. I'm kind of a Halo dork, so that's how I roll.
So, as Kiki mentioned, the fragment of the Halo ring, Jeremy said, why don't we set it on a Halo? And then we discussed that, and we talked about which Halo, and we ended up with Alpha Halo, which was obviously destroyed, and that brought in some really exciting sort of potential. And that came in sort of in the middle of the development of the script. Can you describe a little about how that sort of changed that process and the way we thought about the characters?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of coming from a place of knowing that Paul and Sergio wanted to create a dynamic where the cast goes on this mission, and the nature of that mission very quickly changes, and the story becomes about how that set of characters deals with sort of that shift in mission and what it means for them. And so it became really interesting when the idea of using the fragment came up, because we kind of dug into how could this fragment really have ended up there? What were the sort of physics of the event at the end of Halo 1? What could that orbit mean? How could that orbit work and help drive the plot that Sergio and Paul felt very strongly about? And then it became just very mechanic, like what is the right size? What is the shape? Like how big is the fragment? And then, you know, it's still functional. but what does it mean for it to still be functional and broken? What does that look like? How does that affect the plot? And so it was kind of this interesting sort of forensic analysis of the explosion of the original ring, and then looking forward, what can we define around it to help drive the plot? So it was a pretty fun process. It was fun to acquaint Sergio and Paul with the deep nerd fiction, which we all love. But I will say they embraced it. You were there hand-holding through that
Paul
process.
had just come off of working on Yukon,
that's
which
right.
is kind of a Western, and we're explaining to him, no, this fragment of this orbital ring has functional slip space drive, huge energies, and he's trying to get out of 6-shooters. And we had fun sort of really just nerding out about the science that's involved, and we did make some proper scientific phone calls to the right people. But it actually it ended up working really well with the story we'd already kind of broken, and it ended up sort of inserting itself smoothly and definitely improving it, I feel. So.
Yeah, and I can confirm that Kevin Grace is indeed a kleptomaniac. He's stolen things from foreign countries.
Yes, he obviously hasn't seen the Brady Bunch, or he wouldn't have tried that, but
Yes,
4
we're
people
afraid of
old
the
enough to
curse.
get that clogged.
Yeah.
So and actually, maybe you can explain how that influenced the naming, which is always by far the most controversial thing anybody does in any fiction, whether it's movies or games.
Yes, second to credits, naming is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, we, again, kind of getting back to wanting this setting to be a character in the story, I think we landed really quickly on sort of the nature of that orbit, and we'll talk more about sort of the impact on plot soon, but I think that became a key point. And so Nightfall, and the idea that not only was the environment changing, but they also were sort of being driven by a very dire schedule. Defined by
as
that
we
orbit.
were.
Yes, as we always are.
Yeah.
So Nightfall really came from that.
And Nightfall, it's obviously one of the prize pieces that you're going to see on the Halo channel later this year, but it's not by far the only piece you're going to see. So Kiki, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the way content's expected to roll out on the Halo channel.
Yeah, I mean, so we announced the Halo channel recently at Gamescom, which is our new sort of interactive digital network, which is about all things Halo. Nightfall will obviously premiere, and we've talked about sort of Halo Twitch programming and being able to launch to our Xbox One games from there. But we also have an internal programming team, some of whom are here, who are putting together a pretty amazing lineup of content, both things that we're producing internally, but also content that we're working with different partners on. This is a quick shot of our guide, so you can see sort of the categories of content. The Halo universe is really broad, and people have sort of their favorite areas, whether it's universe fiction, esports, news, but for us the priority is how do we make sure that there's sort of consistent and scheduled programming and a reason for you guys to always keep coming back for new content. So that's what my internal programming team is working on, and I think we have a little video here that just gives you a little bit of a taste of some of the content that we'll have when we launch.
As you're watching these things, remember everything you're seeing, because we're going to have time for Q&A at the end. And I would also advise that you don't leave before the Q&A, because we have one or two more announcements to make during and after the Q&A. So stay in your seats at the end, if you will. But we're gonna transition a little bit from visuals, which is really what Nightfall is about, and I'll let Dan make this transition for us as we talk about audio.
Yeah, so at Gamescom, you may have heard we were talking a little bit about the evolution of that Switch feature. So you guys may remember the first anniversary, we introduced that ability to swap back and forth between the new graphics and the classic ones. One of the things we wanted to do with Halo 2 Anniversary was evolve that feature, because we got a lot of great feedback from the community. People really enjoyed it. So we thought, okay, we've got some more power to play with now. How can we evolve that feature a little bit? So what we talked about at Gamescom, and we showed this to a few people, was, first of all, that switch is now instantaneous. So if you remember the treatment in the first anniversary, it kind of faded in and then came back. So now when you do that swap, it's right away. So it's really quite cool. You go from old to new immediately. But one of the things that we were pretty passionate about, and Paul in particular was pretty passionate about, was involving that feature to include audio. So now when you do the switch, so you can be in the old version and you'll hear the old sound effects, the old music. Now when you hit the swap, you also transition from old music and audio to new music and audio instantly as well. And it's a pretty dramatic difference. So Paul, why don't you talk a little bit about that process, what we've done, and all that good stuff.
All right.
I'm glad you didn't say, it would have been
thanks.
weird if you'd said no. Thank you for
Thanks, Dan. And again, it's great to be here. What's up, Halo Nation? It's awesome to see all of you here at PAX. And yeah. I mean, it's a thrill to present to you what's an exclusive, never before heard look at both music and also some sound effects that we have for Halo 2 Anniversary. And I mean, when all of us here sat down to plan this, we knew that we wanted Halo 2 Anniversary to be a celebration, but also an innovation. And audio is obviously an essential pillar to that, as all of you here know. So I wanted to kick things off a little bit by looking at the music first. So our goal was to adapt and reorchestrate the iconic and masterful score of Halo 2, and that was originally composed by Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore. So we've brought back our award-winning music team together for this, including Brian Trifon and Brian Lee White from Finishing Move, and Lenny Moore and Tom Salta. And all of us have really deep roots in the canon and have been contributing over the years now. And I wanted to announce today for the first time that we have returned to Skywalker and the Skywalker sound. We recorded the massive Skywalker Symphony. We've added 40-piece San Francisco opera chorus and 28 singers from the San Francisco Boys Choir, mixed in beautiful, yeah. And it's all now mixed in just a gorgeous surround sound mix. That's a big upgrade from the original score. The score will be in surround. So in this beautiful and fantastic setting here at Benaroya Hall, let's have a world premiere listen to an excerpt from the score. Thanks a lot. So, the original Halo 2 release went in a pretty bold new direction when it came to exciting partners and some interesting musical collaborations. I mean, Frank, you remember back.
Yeah, you guys remember that there was some extra tracks on there and some specifically incorporated music. 10 years ago, we had Incubus and Breaking Benjamin. It's 10 years later, so I think we really wanted to take it in a fresh direction.
Well, yep, and Halo 2 Anniversary updates this tradition in a huge way. So, Halo Nation, it is my pleasure to announce that we have commissioned 2 original songs from Misha Mansour of the band Periphery and Animals as Leaders fame. And here is a world premiere first listen to his music featured in the game.
He's pretty metal. He's pretty metal. So is he replacing any of the sort of guitar stuff we heard in the...
Well, you know, I mean, last but not least, it just wouldn't be Halo 2 without a guitar legend. So I am delighted to confirm that Steve Vai is back for Halo 2. And he's recorded with us at Skywalker Sound as well. It was a gorgeous and unbelievable session. We had a blast. Here is a first listen to Steve absolutely bringing it on the score. So, we're going to be offering an official soundtrack release, and it's going to be day and date with the Master Chief Collection, 11/11, and we're going to be offering a double CD, global digital release from your favorite online retailer or subscription service, and a limited edition vinyl. So, stay tuned to Halo Waypoint for more information as this rolls out. So, let's turn our attention now to talk a little bit about sound effects, because you know you really just can't have Halo game without killer sound effects. And you know this was another essential pillar and component to Halo 2, and it was not just a simple content swap for us, but an entire system design overhaul. Brian Fieser, Paul Stoughton, and Charles Dean and our post team. I mean, our sound team went totally next level on this, and really harness the power of our platform. So we've rebuilt and reimagined every single sound in the game. That means new Foley, new weapons, new ambiences, vehicles, everything's been changed. And we've also designed some new systems to really make Halo 2 Anniversary shine. We have a new reflection system, so the weapons reflect and interact in the environment that they're in a much more realistic way. We built a new LOD system, or level of distance, so you can actually hear weapons over distance and over space and around corners in a more realistic way than before.
Ironically, our sound team was 4 men smaller after this session.
It looks like Isaac's been moonlighting there, Dan.
Yeah, I haven't seen Isaac since we recorded
Sadly,
this.
So, but the biggest point to make, and I think Dan's done a really good job of already, sort of describing it, but I really want to kind of get into some detail here, is we are shipping all of the legacy sounds, just as you remember them, and all of our celebrated anniversary sounds right next to each other, and they are switchable on the fly instantly with a single touch of a button. You are getting 2 entire sound trees that includes music, that includes ambience, that includes weapons, all switching instantly with a touch of a button. And that's never been done before, and something we hoped for Halo 2 Anniversary, and I'm really happy to say we are delivering that to you. So, why don't we take a look at this? So, we made a demo. We just pulled out our Xbox and literally grabbed the feed. What you're about to see is literally just live gameplay. This is how fast it's going to switch. Some of the weapons are just kind of cut together, but what you're seeing in the switching is real time, right off kit. So let's roll a demo video here and check it out.
So we've talked a lot about visuals, we've talked a lot about audio. Let's talk about multiplayer. With the person who's responsible for a lot of the ways that you play matchmaking in not just Halo 2 or Halo 3, but basically any multiplayer console game, Mr. Max Hoberman. Let's talk about Lockout.
Thank you, Frank. So yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for coming out to see us. I actually I'm going to do something slightly unorthodox. So I invited, Dan's looking at me. I invited a friend of mine. I invited a friend of mine to come here, and he said that he was going to come and heckle me. So rather than give him the chance, I thought I'd do a preemptive strike and call him out. So if you guys look over this way, a little bit behind the mic stand, Charlie Goff, one of my best friends, who is also, incidentally, the lead programmer on Halo 2 from Bungie's coming down here. Say hello, Charlie.
All right. Preemptive strike. Yeah,
that's fair.
So Lockout is, and I can say this without a shadow of doubt, my favorite small Halo map. It's not that small, but it's easily my favorite. You were there for the first one. What led to the shape and the corridors and the ramps that we all know and love?
Yeah, so Lockout's an interesting map because it's actually one of the very first maps that we made for Halo 2, which is, it's just kind of mind-boggling how popular it is and how well it all worked out. When we first laid out the maps, we laid out a plan for 9 original kind of small-scale maps. And we kind of had a chart that said, we need a map that does 4-on-4, 8-on-8, et cetera, et cetera. And actually, Lockout was the smallest of the set. It was our one map that was really actually designed, believe it or not, to be a one-on-one map. This was pre-Halo Online, and we were thinking about poor people who didn't have internet access back then and just had to, play with them and I guess they didn't have a lot of friends either, but just them and their one friend. So, we try and design maps so they're versatile and they handle, different groups of people. But this was really our one-on-one map. And at the time, it was just me and Chris Carney, the lead environment artist, working on this. So Carney and I took that list of 9 maps and we just divvied it up. We each took roughly half of the maps and took a first stab at it. So Lockout, this was actually Carney's original design. And I think in a little bit, you can actually see the updated visuals on here, but in a sec, we'll go back to the original plans.
Yeah, and we were, given that we're giving you the 60 frame per second 1080p original, I think we had a little more latitude this time in making some fixes and some improvements and some changes. Can you tell us a little about those? I'm looking at the bigger elbow on the ramp there, for example.
Yeah, so Lockout is a very, very tricky map to make changes on because it's so popular and there's so much that just works so well on it. So, really, really careful about this and really deliberate. You can see here, there are a few improvements, though, things that we thought can make it better. So one of them is here on the elbow, which is that long ramp. Right at the corner, we actually added a little bit more play space. And if you look kind of to the right of the image, you'll see there's a cover piece over there. So when you're fighting up the ramp, you actually have a little bit of cover. And this has been playtesting amazingly well, so super excited about this. Plus, if you have like King of the Hill or something, Crazy King, now there's a little more area down there for that objective games. So that's one change.
Yeah, I abuse that spot non-stop. I stand in the fusion coil corner and ping people's heads. So if I can abuse it, there is probably something wrong with it. That's a scientific fact. We have some new features.
Yeah. So this is this glass piece in the center, right in the middle of the map, is now breakable. It's pretty tough. It takes a lot to break it, but it really kind of changes up the gameplay when you do break it, and all of a sudden you have this interconnectivity between those center levels. And just to make sure nobody's scared about this, you can go into Forge. There's an alternate glass piece that you can plop down instead of the breakable one, and you can have it old school, not breakable. So don't worry about that. But if you like it and you like the change that it makes, you can always go in there.
You can also control the stalactites, whether they're on the map or not.
I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what do the stalactites add?
Yeah. So these are really interesting. There's 3 of these giant stalactites hanging from the ceiling. This map, this is a very competitive map, and when a team gets in a really strong position, it can be really tough to dislodge them. So that's really what this is all about, is giving you an alternate. The one in the center is a little bit different. The one in the center will actually knock the glass out, break it for you. So it gives you a quick way to get, to break that glass. But then on either side, on the battle rifle tower, over in the sniper tower, an entrenched team, you can hit this stalactite, drop it down on their head, and kind of change, when somebody's doing really well, you can shift the battle back in your favor a little bit. So this has also been playing really well. It's a lot of fun. Again, this is all forgeable, so we can go back to classic versions without this stuff.
And your process at Certain Affinity is obviously very similar to ours, so maybe you can talk us through how you get to a beautiful polished map from the crazy idea in the first place.
So, sorry, you want to know how this all?
Well, we just we have these slides showing this what looks like very simple geometry.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of testing and there's a lot of sort of prototyping before you get to a polished space.
Oh yeah, this is. So I'm glad we pulled this up. This is actually Chris Carney's original design for Lockout. And if you look closely, this is actually really cool because it's, we're trying to design a really small map. 2 players playing on one-on-one. It's really not fun if one guy just goes and camps and hides. So this map was always meant to have these lines of sight and this connectivity, a lot of chasing each other and jumping. And I pulled up some of the old design docs and was looking at those, and you can see explicitly calling out these angles, so you can just see somebody pass, through, this line of sight and all that. So this is the original map, and what's actually interesting about this right here is this is actually what we built, the first playable that we built right here, and it didn't actually work very well. There's a lot of places where, like over in the lift in that room, and actually over here on the left side also, where you kind of get stuck and you kind of get trapped in there, and you really, it's such a, there's so much visibility on the map, you really can't move around. So when we first made this map and we first played it, we were kind of scratching our heads because it wasn't actually working that well and it wasn't playing that well. So I remember I actually got my hands on this. This was an old Photoshop file with a bunch of layers in there, and started mucking around with it and trying to figure out what we do. So if we advance the slide one, watch the left-hand side of the screen. These are some of the things I was proposing. So hey, what if this ramp goes around the building? And hey, what if you could go up on top of what became the battle rifle tower? Although I think we were still planning ladders then, so I'm glad we got rid of those. But yeah, this is the type of, we made these changes. What we were calling the elbow earlier, that entire walkway didn't exist. So once you're in there, you're really trapped. And we actually added that in there. That was another proposal. And those few changes just completely changed the map. And I think, I think for the rest of development, which this was done really early, we did this in the first probably 6 months of Halo 2 development. For the rest of development on Halo 2, this was the favorite small-scale map. And we really didn't make a whole lot of changes at that point, except for really subtle fine-tuning. So, oh yeah.
Shotgun corridor. This is actually inspired from a corridor in Marathon, right?
Yeah, Frank and I were chatting about this earlier, and I was telling him this was back in the days. Actually, Charlie and I grew up playing Marathon together. One of my all-time favorite Marathon maps. Yeah, I got some Marathon fans. A lot of Halo multiplayer, and certainly my inspiration and knowledge about FPS multiplayer came from Marathon. One of my favorite maps is a map called Mars Needs Women, which has this long corridor, this little dark spot at the end that you can kind of hide in and get the jump on somebody. So, yeah, I really wanted to get that in here. I wanted to have one of those dark corridors that you could go down there and just hang out and surprise people. So that was actually, the inspiration for the.
So why don't we take a look at the map in motion? Bravo, one of our community guys and one of our multiplayer legends, made a little bit of a video that gives you a little bit of tour of Lockout and how it plays.
Hey everyone, and welcome inside 343 Industries. I'm Andy Bravo-Radinsky, and this is a special edition episode of Breaking Down the Map, a brand new show coming to Halo Channel where I break down the multiplayer maps within the Halo universe and also give you some tips along the way. In today's episode, we're going to take a short look at one of the most iconic and beloved maps of all time, Lockout. The original Lockout takes place on a remote, frigid flood research facility, and the updated version looks just as frigid and isolated, and also better than ever. Certain Affinity has done it once again with this version of Lockout, and given the optimizations that they've made that enhance the playing experience, this one might even rank higher than the original. This updated version of Lockout is more about optimization than broad changes, and one area that this really shines is the skill jumps and trick routes that exist on the map. Let's walk through a few of these that I think you'll want to know about. Let's start with the area called the BR Tower, due to the fact that the battle rifle spawns at the top. If you're coming from top mid, then jumping to the top is as easy as 1, 2, 3. It's also easy to do from the left side, also known as the open ramp, and also from the right side, known as the library. Now, these certainly aren't the only trick jumps we've carried over from the original, so make sure you play around on Lockout come November to see what else you can pull off. Next up, let's talk about some of the new features on the updated version of Lockout. Minimal changes have been made to Lockout, so I'll keep this segment short and sweet. One of the first things you may notice while playing is that the glass on top middle is now breakable. This wasn't possible in the original, but don't worry, it takes quite a bit to break the glass, and once broken, it will eventually return to its unbroken state. Besides that, mostly everything on Lockout will play exactly as you remember it, except for the stalactites that can kill you from above with a shot. Keeping in spirit with each map having an interactive element, there are 3 stalactites that can be shot and dropped onto your enemies. One for the BR tower, one for top mid, and one for the sniper tower. Just like all interactive elements in Halo 2 Anniversary, the stalactites can be toggled via flip. Be on the lookout for more episodes of Breaking Down the Map on Halo Channel when it launches, where I'll be covering Lockout as well as more maps within the franchise. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Dan, some more PAX exclusive reveals from you?
I don't know. Anyone want to talk about Forge a little bit? So we did, at Gamescom, I promised we'd talk a little bit about Forge. In particular, today I want to talk about some of the changes we've been looking at for Forge, in particular for the new maps that we've been doing with Max and his team at Certain Affinity. So, as you can see, ton of new features, and we've brought a bunch of new features back as well, like precision control and zoom. You know, when we started working with this, Certain Affinity was really passionate about Forge, so we were really excited to work with those guys. And we're really, really passionate working with our team, coming together to really bring some new features to Forge. I won't go into all of them right now. I mean, I can talk about a couple of my favorites. I mean, I think the additional natural and terrain structure pieces is really exciting. I mean, I think Forge has traditionally been limited in your ability for natural terrain, rocks, trees, things like that. The constructs tend to have been very different. So Certain Affinity was really excited. This is one of the first things they were pushing, is to actually open up that variety a little bit more, to make Forge a little bit more exciting. And that's been a tremendous amount of fun. But I think the one I'm probably most excited about, because community's been asking this for a long, long time, is we're going to have 3 skybox-only Forge maps. So you are not limited by pre-existed terrain. You basically go to town. So you can just jump in there on an open palette and start creating whatever it is you want. And this is something we've been really excited about. The Forge stuff has been coming together really, really nicely. Again, we won't go into detail on all of them, because we want to be able to get into a little more detail on a one-to-one basis with you guys on some of these things. But we've definitely heard your excitement about Forge. I think the team has done an amazing job bringing this stuff together. I think you are going to love some of the improvements we've made to the Forge system.
And when can the fans expect to see the 1080p 60 frame per second versions of the originals? That's been a question that we get a lot.
Hey, you guys want to look at Halo 3 at 60 1080p? Let's see how that looks. So, you know, one of the questions, to Frank's point, I've gotten a lot is, you know, everyone I think understands the anniversary treatment. We've got a lot of questions about 3 and 4. You know, okay, if you're not touching those games by hand, how are those really going to look? Didn't I just play these? Or are you just upporting from the old versions? And the answer is absolutely not. We have made a tremendous amount of work into those games to make them run at 60 frames per second, to make them run at 1080p. I'd like to show you guys some work in progress on Halo 3, give you guys a bit of an exclusive. We can run it. We've got a video, and I'll just talk through it while we're looking through it.
Wait! The Arbiter's with us! Come on now. Got enough to worry about without you two trying to kill each other.
Were it so easy. We must go. The brutes have our scent.
All right, so we'll get rolling.
They must love.
And again, hopefully this is coming through nicely on the screens, but let's hop in and check out some gameplay. So this is Halo 3, believe it or not, at 60 frames, 1080p, and what you can immediately see from it is how much more fluid the gameplay is. It's coming across nicely in the video. You really sense the difference when you pick it up and play. You can actually see here as you look up at the canopy, a lot of individual detail is also coming through, which you couldn't see prior to that. Back at the office, we've actually got versions. We have 2 TVs going for both this and 4 that have the original running next to our new ones, and the difference is pretty dramatic. This is actually a great spot. You can see some of the changes we made to the lighting systems, to the shaders. So, you know, it's hard to believe that this is Halo 3 and it's looking so incredible. The water looks great. So, whereas we're not going in and hand-touching all of the content like we are for Halo 2 Anniversary, this Halo 3 and Halo 4 are still getting a pretty dramatic upgrade. You get the benefits of 1080p, you get the benefits of 60 frames per second, and it's really a fun exercise for us, because we're taking these games from a technical standpoint without touching everything by hand and bringing it in and making it feel like a modern console game. So we just wanted to give you a sneak peek at that, but it's pretty exciting, and I can't wait for you guys to get your... Thank you.
Thank you. So we will have we do have time for some Q&A, but before we start that, I'd firstly like to thank the panel individually: Max Holberman, Paul Lipson, Kiki Wolfkill, and Dan Ayub for joining us this morning. And
thank you, Frank.
And yeah, they know. We're good. But I believe we have one surprise, and this is anyone who's been to Comic-Con probably knows what this surprise is. Somebody is sitting on a exclusive, in that there were only ever 4, Master Chief Collection Xbox One. And someone is sitting on that, and if they reach under, not only under their seat, but on the short side of under the seat, they should find a sticker. And if they don't, I'm going to direct the person, because the sticker's flat. Lucky for somebody, 13 and row L, check under your seat. I did get that right, Che, right? If you can't peel it off, you can't have the console. It's as simple as that. There you go. 13L. Come on. You can come up. We know it's there. Oh. Yeah, yeah. We have all the cables in the box and everything for you. Congratulations. And now, we're running late, so let's get some questions. You guys know the drill. If anybody asks if there's any multiplayer in Master Chief Collection or about the PC version, they're gonna die on the internet. Just warning you. You can ask. I'll even answer. First question.
So my question is, we kind of have an expectation of how Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 4 multiplayer is going to look. When are we going to find out more information about how Halo CE multiplayer is going to be implemented into Xbox Live, since it is the first time?
Dan?
Yeah. So we are going to be actually talking about Halo 1 probably within the next month. So stay tuned. We're going to have some cool stuff to talk about there, but it's we're obviously really, really excited about it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hi. With the Lockout change, we saw the icicles and the destruction as an interactivity, and you mentioned Forge with that. Will there be more Forge objects that are interactable?
There's actually a pretty large palette. There's some interesting gadget type things and stuff we've put in. I don't know that they're map specific, but we have added some really fun elements to Forge that I can't say too much about.
Thanks. Just getting ready to tackle you there.
Yeah. Hi, how's it going, guys? I always see Halo as a type of game that you play until basically the new one comes out. And I heard some news a while ago where someone was looking at data concerning player count. And I don't know what, I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were about that. They said that it was something to do with like Halo 4's player count a year after the game was released was significantly lower than the other games. And I was curious if you guys maybe were doing anything to address that in future Halo games.
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of stuff. We obviously we have to take responsibility for some of the things that just weren't popular. There's also timing involved, and it was our first game as a studio, so everyone's very aware of it, and everyone's trying to learn from that. And I think we got the message loud and clear.
Thank you.
Hi. So I guess first, before I ask my question, if you haven't played Halo 4, like plug your ears. I miss Cortana. I understand the design decision. It was one of those, it was a fantastic story decision. What were some of the design, or what were some of the thoughts behind that design that really kind of pushed you forward into that? And I guess was the idea to kind of maybe isolate Master Chief, to kind of maybe put this as the reboot, really kind of make him on his own? Like, what was the thought?
No, we can't obviously talk too much about story. What I will say is that we did want to, Master Chief's been a vehicle for us, for players, for so long. And over the years, people started to get a feel for his persona and his character. And so this was, nothing meaningful happens when everything goes right all the time. Poor old Sergeant Johnson, for example, dies about 10,000 times in the average game. And so when he died at the end of Halo 3, it was pretty sad, but most of us have killed him by accident many, many times. So it had a little bit less meaning. So bluntly, we wanted to do something that was meaningful and was going to affect the universe permanently. And you're right to think that you'll get to see how effective he is in Halo 5. So that will be interesting in itself.
Thank you.
I actually was just going to add a quick
Oh, yeah.
thing to that without spoiling anything. I think part of what we wanted to do was, as a player, have you sort of feel something with Chief and have you sort of experience this sense of loss as a player that Chief was feeling from a story standpoint. And I think we tried to do a lot of reflection on Chief and his sort of more human side through Halo 4. And the relationship with Cortana was sort of the best manifestation of him as a person and the effect of that on him.
I didn't want to make them cry, but you've ruined that.
I like to make them cry.
Next question.
Hi, yeah, first off I want to thank you guys for coming out here. It really means a lot to us. It's really awesome of you guys taking the time out. So first off I wanted to thank you all for that.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, thank you guys.
My second question is there ever going to be a chance for us to see Halo Reach make next-gen consoles?
It's possible. I can tell you there are no plans for it at this juncture. Obviously, 360 owners got some good news about Halo Reach earlier in the week, so we love that game and we take it seriously. But right now, there's no plans. The point in Master Chief Collection, as Dan can probably succinctly summarize, was to get Master Chief's story on one console for the first time.
Yeah, what I can tell you is that is probably the question I've been asked the most since the release. So it's definitely made its way into our subconscious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you still do goofy things in Halo 2 multiplayer, like rocket sword lunges and climbing along headlong and all that fun stuff?
We're still in the middle of testing, and things like aspect ratio, just literally the pixel count, there's lots of things that happen in the renderer that mean there are no guarantees of that stuff, but we're not going in to deliberately fix or change some of the more well-known exploits and bugs. Of course, you'll get the post-update version of those games, but we won't make any promises about those bugs and exploits because we really just don't know how the pixel space is going to affect them ultimately. Some of them are still working, and we're testing some others.
All right, thanks.
Hi. How are we going to handle armor permutations and loadout unlocks between Halo 3 and 4? Is that going to carry over from the 360 versions? Or
oh, you mean in terms of your game saves and stuff?
Yeah, is that like fresh unlocks? Or
sorry, are you asking
you know, if you're
function the same or if it's going to carry over?
No, if your stuff from Halo 3
No, so your stuff will not carry over from Halo 3 and 4. I mean, what I can say is they will play exactly, those games are being moved over exactly as they were, so that functionality will be identical. But right now, those will not carry over.
Yeah. The systems are really pretty radically different. So, how are we doing for time, Che? We're way over, but is anyone angry?
My original question was actually his, so
okay.
That sucks. But is Halo 1 Anniversary's transition going to be as immediate as Halo 2 Anniversary's?
Yes, it is. So the improvement we've made to it on 2, we went back into the same thing for 1. So when you do the switch on 1, it will be instantaneous as well.
Cool. Thanks.
So yeah, someone might have already asked this, but like Halo 3 Forge maps and Halo 4 Forge maps and like custom game types that people made, like will that actually transition over to the Master Chief Collection at all?
Yes, it will.
It will? Right?
Yes.
Cool, thank you.
Pretty much, so when you think of those games, think of it like if it was in the original, it's going to be in this version as well.
All right, cool, thank you.
You bet.
In the first anniversary, the sound didn't transfer automatically, it was chosen. We have the option to listen to the original audio when we play updated graphics on the Halo 2 anniversary.
So I think I understand your question. So what's different between our first anniversary and our second is that we're actually shipping both sound sets simultaneously. So when you see legacy graphics, you're going to have all the legacy audio. And when you see new graphics, you're going to have new audio. And those switch back and forth. So we wanted to, this is one of the biggest points of feedback we had from our fan base. We wanted to give fans everything. We wanted to say, if you want to enjoy your original memories and just play it exactly as it was 10 years ago, you absolutely can do that. And if you want to experience our celebration of it and some of the new innovations we have, you can now toggle just instantly. And I think, you know, definitely with the power of Xbox One, I mean, we're going to see a lot of game clips and a lot of fun captures of just people kind of looking at the same experience from both sides. So I think the big innovation with 2 is that you're kind of getting the whole thing. And, you know, with 1, we had a new sound set which shipped, and we also had an option for the remastered score and the original score. And this, we're actually just shipping both entire sound sets together. And we just think that's probably the best thing for the fans, and it's what we've been dreaming of doing, so we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
So our amazing stage crew from both the PAX organization and Benaroya Hall, who I want to thank for taking wonderful care of us, have given us another 10 minutes of Q&A, so we're good there. Thank you guys, seriously, they've been awesome. I want to do a quick piece of housekeeping so that we can kind of do a hard stop when we get to the last question. Today we are going to be doing a signing over at the Paramount Theater. That's going to start at 1 and go through 2:30. So if you're over there, get over there. We'll sign whatever, boxes, boobs, bad checks, we don't care. And they also have a bunch of free PAX swag over there, so I hear that's the place to go for swag. All day today, we're going to be streaming the PAX Prime Showdown Tournament. There's a $10,000 prize pool. Some of the best pros in the world are going to be playing behind closed doors. However, if you go to Twitch TV /Halo, you can watch it streaming live. And the final is tomorrow, I believe, Che, is that correct? And the final will be between 4 and 6 tomorrow. So watch it today and check out the finals tomorrow on twitch.tv/Halo. And you waited an extra amount of time.
Awesome. So I have another story question. Will Master Chief ever find out that there are more Spartan 2s alive than just him?
It's a good question, because Master Chief currently doesn't know which Spartan 2s are alive, but fiction fans do. There will be more to say about that in the future.
All right, well, thanks.
Nice try, though.
Yeah, sneaky.
Paul, I just want to say thank you for keeping the electrical guitar and everything and keeping the spirit of Halo 2 sound. My question is actually, is there any plans on like a actual Halo movie involving Master Chief or anything like that?
For Kiki.
Yet another nice try. We have nothing to talk about on that front this time.
See how it feels? See how it feels?
Thank you.
All right, first off, I'd like to mean no offense by this shirt. You guys are doing a great job. Dan, Frankie, keep up the legacy. Kiki, I love your name. Sound design's amazing and truly inspirational. Chucky signed it, and Max,
nice.
Level design, I love it, I love it. On to the question, which hopefully you can answer. Will there be any sort of community sharing within the Forge maps? You have trending, things we can like, labels or guidelines? Something that could possibly be connected to Halo, the Halo channel, something that is easier to get noticed with the Forge maps.
Promoting Forge and user-generated content on the channel?
Outside of
yeah,
separate
sorry.
websites.
Tuned out for a second now. Yeah, I mean, the sort of highlighting community is really important for us on the channel, and so we'll be working on ways both to sort of amplify things that we already have found, and also having community content sort of come to us, and we'll definitely be putting things on the channel that are sort of entertainment worthy for everyone, and it helps keep us in great programming, but also, you know, the community creates content that oftentimes is as good, if not better, than stuff we create, so we're happy to highlight it.
All right.
And that's going to apply to matchmaking as well. We have a good sustained plan for the next year.
All right. With all those extra maps, you'll be
Thank
proud.
you.
Thank you.
Hi there, just want to clarify one thing. You were talking about the soundtrack and you mentioned that you've contacted new artists to work on the Halo 2 Anniversary soundtrack. I was wondering, were those extra tracks just going to be part of that separate soundtrack, or are they replacing the Incubus and Breaking Benjamin tracks in the game?
That is an awesome question. So we've worked with Misha Mansour on 2 new tracks, and when you are in Legacy mode, you're going to hear the original Breaking Benjamin and the original Incubus track, and when you switch to Remastered, you're going to hear Misha Mansour and his original music. So you're going to hear his music in the game, and those tracks are going to be exclusive to the game and to the official soundtrack. So you'll be able to get Misha's music both in the game and on the soundtrack. But we do have the original Breaking Benjamin and Incubus tunes in Legacy. It's part of that soundtrack. And it's really fun to switch between the two. It's kind of like, you know, crazy rock killing Covenant time.
Thank you very much.
I think that's our marketing slogan, Paul.
Hello. Can you switch between the remastered sound and the legacy sound separately from the graphics?
No, and I mean, we made that decision consciously. So someone had asked me that earlier, saying, can I just have the old graphics with new sound? And I think, you know, we're already pushing a platform in a way that no one's really ever done before. So we said, you know, let's preserve the original, which fans, you know, adamantly want and which we respect, and then let's give them the anniversary celebration and the innovation side of it. And with the instant switching, we felt like everyone can kind of have their cake and eat it too. And when you start getting into some pretty complex technical things of, wait a minute, let's remap all of this new stuff with the old graphics engine, we just made the decision that it was important to kind of preserve these two pillars, but then be able to just instantly switch between the two. So, you know, we'll leave it open. I mean, who knows? We're always innovating, we're always pushing. But right now, it's legacy graphics, legacy sound, brand new graphics, brand new audio.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, from all the LAN parties I've played and as well as the online multiplayer matches, I found Big Team Battle be my favorite. And I look back that they're 16 player matches at most. And I just gotta wonder, well, one day will it be a possibility that we'll have as many as 32 or even 64 player multiplayer matches?
So, we've looked at that over the years, and Max has looked at player count over the years. Lockout's a good example of that. That went from 1 to, you know, ideally 8. Yeah, nothing to announce at this time, but it's something that we continue to re-examine. The simple fact of the matter is Halo does work well with 16 players, and there's some good reasons for that. That's not to say it couldn't work well with more, but we'll have more to say about that kind of stuff much, much later.
Hi, just wanted to first of all thank you for giving me a reason to be excited about, you know, for the rest of the year for my Xbox One. So, but my question is, with these sound changes, you guys gave the weapons a little bit more pop. So how does that relate in terms of like damage between the legacy version and the updated version?
I'm sorry, is your question, is it changing the damage? Is that what you asked?
Is there any kind of changes that were made with the updated
No,
version?
the weapon functionality will be identical, but you probably feel like they died super hard with the new sniper. They couldn't even have a ghost at that point, just a massive skull. This is going to be our last question. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'd like to thank the stage crew for enabling us. And I'd like to thank my panelists for being awesome. And this question better be good, no pressure.
All right. In Halo 4's campaign and multiplayer, weapons despawned really fast. I'm wondering, with the power of Xbox One, will that be fixed in the Master Chief Collection version? Will we be able to, you know, go get our weapons without them just disappearing on us?
Weapon despawns, well, of course everything is affected by technology and horsepower, but that was also a design decision, and we're not touching the design. We're going to leave the games intact, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and leave them playing exactly the way people remember them. I will say we showed Halo 3 today, and it benefits really massively from the 1080p and 60 frame per second boost, but I would say this, but Halo 4 has, I would just say, even more pop, like more stuff shows, and we did some clever stuff with the existing lighting engine to get a little more out of it. But we're leaving the gameplay identical across the board, and the differences you notice are going to relate to field of view, or rather aspect ratio. Field of views are staying the same, and pixel count. But otherwise, everything's going to be verbatim. So again, thank you very much. That was a good question. No one will yell at you.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for coming to see us today. And we'll have lots more to share this year. Huge project. And thank you to my panel. And again, the signing is at the Paramount Theater at 1 to 2:30 this afternoon. Hope to see some of you there.